So welcome, gang, to our first UC San Diego Student Transportation Town Hall for the spring quarter. Hard to believe we're here already, but we are, and charging forward. Just wanted to give a couple of quick acknowledgments. I am Josh Calvin. I'm the new Director of Transportation for the campus. Celebrated month 5 on the job last week, and I'm here today in partnership with AS, of course, and really appreciative of the partnership that I've had there since joining the campus, and also with the support of Resource Management and planning my parent organization here on the campus. So my contact information on the top of the screen. I hope you won't be shy about reaching out if there's anything I can help you with. Over time, I want to give just a little bit of information on my background, where I come to the university from. I know you all didn't come to hear about me, but I will probably reference examples from a couple of these places along the way, so I wanted you to know. Prior to joining the university, I was at Amazon.com in downtown Seattle, helping to lead the Global Commuter Benefits Program for Amazon. Prior to that, almost 10 years at the University of Washington, very similar to UCSD in a lot of ways. Served as Director of Transportation there, helped bring light rail to the campus, among other things. And then prior to that, Associate Director of Transportation at the University of New Mexico. So this is the 5th of a series of town halls. Our first 4 focused on faculty and staff transportation issues. This week we're turning to student transportation issues, and so 2 more after today. Please invite your friends. We'd love to see a packed room as things move forward. These are not, of course, the only opportunities to get involved and to join the conversation about transportation on the campus. We also have our virtual town hall, which we launched just a couple of weeks ago. It's an online forum where we post any major operational change that we're considering, major policy changes that we're considering, so that we can elicit campus feedback in a very inclusive sort of way. We're all busy folks, and so it's hard to get to a session like this in person. And it's also even hard to host them on any sort of regular basis. And so here's a way that we can cast a wide net, give everyone an opportunity to read where we're headed, provide their feedback. Similarly, First to Know is a tool that we also launched a couple of weeks ago. It's intended to give the campus community an opportunity to tell us what's most important to them, so that we can provide them with timely and personalized updates on what's happening on campus. So you can subscribe based on your college. If you tend to park or be interested in transportation issues around your particular college, you can subscribe that way. If you ride a particular shuttle route, you can subscribe based on that. You can track major projects on campus, like the North Torrey Pines Living and Learning project that's about to kick off. And we'll send you updates on any transportation issues associated with those services that you rely on the most, or projects that you have interest in. And then, of course, direct contact information for the department, our email address and telephone number on the screen. And we'll talk more about ways to engage with us and with the transportation program in general as the presentation goes on. Briefly, we're going to do a little bit of presentation on the beginning of this. I will try to keep it short, but really I'm hoping that this is a conversation, and that in fact it's the beginning of a conversation. We want to build a very inclusive organization here and keep an active dialogue going with our customers and with the campus community, so that we can learn your needs and help build a better solution for you. So I want to talk briefly about the Transportation Services Program. It takes a village to run a large university transportation program, and so we've got 82 career staff in transportation services. We've also got more than 200 student staff, and that's something that I'm really proud of and was excited by as I was coming to join the university. So they're doing everything out there, from helping run events on the campus to driving our shuttle buses, earning a leading wage for the campus, and also building some skills that they can take with them. Well, I think most of folks are coming to UCSD to aspire to something other than being a bus driver. Great portable skills that, and licensure that you can use to fall back on it as well. So our operational scope, we manage transportation for the academic campus as well as for the UC Health System, operate about 3.2 million square feet of transportation facilities. We support the planning, design, and construction functions of the university, including the Regional Transportation Program, and we'll touch on the RTP in just a little bit. We've got 3 main operating units that we use to do this: parking, shuttles, and then transportation demand management. And so if you hear me refer to transportation demand management, or TDM, throughout the presentation, pardon me, it's a term of art from the industry, but it means everything other than a drive-alone vehicle or a single occupancy vehicle. So it's all the tools and programs that we put in place to help people get to campus more efficiently. So we also coordinate all the new mobility services for the campus, so Lyft and Uber and bike share and car share. So somebody has to facilitate those interactions so that we can provide the best possible value to the student community and faculty and staff as well, but also so that the campus isn't overrun and we create an unsafe environment potentially out there. So we handle all the programs to support public transit, ride sharing, van pooling, carpooling. We handle ADA transportation for the campus, the cart service that you see out there. Whether you've got a permanent mobility challenge or you just have a really bad weekend on the slopes and need some temporary help, we're there for you. We support events for the campus. Lots of students working in this capacity with us. We do more than 500 large events that require us to put staff out in the field each year, and another 2,500 plus smaller events where we support planning and developing sort of the operational framework for the event, but then on the day of, it largely runs itself. We also deliver things like the Holiday Airport Shuttle that students have come to love and rely on. That was actually born from a partnership with Associated Students long before I arrived on campus. We do all of this as a self-funded entity, or an auxiliary in university speak, which means we generate 100% of the funds that we use to offer these programs. They come from you, our customers, and that's an obligation that we take very seriously, to be good stewards of those funds and make sure that we deliver you the best possible value for your parking or transportation dollar. So, we're guided, like every organization, by a mission, vision, values, etc. And I don't want to dwell on this too long, but I will highlight that we're in a moment of change as a department. And so since we're in this moment of change, I want to welcome and invite your feedback. Again, we're taping today, and so the detailed version of this will be on the web. But what I want to highlight for you is, in our mission, we understand that we're not here because people love to park. We're not here because people really enjoy riding shuttle buses, although, you know, I do. But in all seriousness, we're here to facilitate the mission of the university: education, teaching, research, and the public service mission of the university. That's why we're here, is to support all of those functions. And to do so in a way that provides consumer choice, that's flexible, and that is increasingly sustainable year after year. So we really value choice, and while you don't necessarily have a ton of choices in terms of where, you know, who you park with when you're on the campus, you're parking with UCSD, right? But we want to be a provider of choice, and what that means to us is that if you had a choice parking for your class between parking with a private operator or parking with the university, that time and time again, because of the value, because of the service, you would choose the university. And this is what we aspire to and how we seek to make decisions every day. We've also added something that we call the customer promise, and this really identifies the role of customers in our organization. And we've said that customers are going to be at the center of every decision that we make. That we're going to offer you a range of choices for how to get back and forth to the campus and around the campus, and allow you to make the choice that's best for you, and we're going to give you the information that you need in order to be able to do that. So I want to touch briefly on the regional transportation program. And so we've all seen the construction going on around campus, so much construction going on around campus. And a lot of that is associated with the RTP. And so we've got our 2 trolley stations that are being built on campus to open in 2022. We've got the Voigt Drive station, and also at Pepper Canyon. In addition, we're coordinating with Sandag and MTS on the station that's going in at the VA hospital as well, and that will certainly be of import to the university community. We're working on the Genesee Interchange and bike path, and of course the Gilman Bridge, which is going to provide a level of reliable connectivity between the east and west campuses of UCSD like we've never really had before, including a really high quality bicycle and pedestrian connection that, if you've ridden over Voigt Bridge, just isn't there today. So things are trending in the right direction for the campus transportation program. You can see that over the last 15 years or so, we've basically flipped the paradigm and gone from campus where driving alone was the norm to one where sharing the ride is actually the norm, or at least getting to campus in ways that are lower impact. And our students, quite frankly, deserve all the credit for this. They've done a remarkable job of shifting into lower impact modes of travel. Specifically, you can see that our drive-alone rates for students are down under 40%, well under 40%. That's really huge. And a significant part of that is the success of the UPass program. And my congratulations to the student body on voting to renew that just a week and a half ago now. Really, really extraordinary move. And considering that it's more than 3.2 million rides per academic year at this point and growing, it was really vital to the future of students and of the campus in general that continue. So I do want to highlight that the UPass is overseen by a body on campus called STAC, the Student Transportation Advisory Committee. It is really the intermediary between the student body as a whole, the student government in particular, and the university transportation function, MTS, and NCTD, or North County Transit District. And so this is your voice on transportation issues for the campus. So historically, it's focused very much on the transit contracts, but I can tell you in both of my previous lives at the University of New Mexico and then at the University of Washington, our student governing body for transportation I used as a really vital sounding board all throughout the year and on all transportation issues. And I hope to do the same here in partnership with STAC. And so I imagine STAC to be providing feedback on UCSD's shuttles and parking programs in the future, to advise on some of the new mobility programs out there like Lyft, like the bike share program that we have on campus. And then really to bring a coordinated student perspective to the Transportation Policy Committee. We've had student representation on there appointed from GSA and AS for a long time, but with STAC, I think we have an opportunity to have a slightly broader base that then informs those representatives that sit on the Transportation Policy Committee. So I invite you to learn more about STAC and to hopefully get involved. So parking on any university campus is really, and speaking specifically about surface parking, is a land bank. Universities tend to grow and they need to build out more buildings, and so we do so on top of surface parking lots. We replace that parking then, we consolidate it into parking garages. UCSD is no different, and so we are building parking garages right now, and a fair number of them. More than really I've seen any of my peers do at any other point in my career in higher ed transportation. So this gives you just a brief overview of all of the projects that we're working on through 2022 when light rail arrives on the campus, and it is a lot of them. So to put it in total numbers, we're going to add, not just replacing parking, but add a net more than 3,000 stalls to the campus over the next several years. And so the really important thing in this is that starting with the fall quarter of 2018, for those of you who aren't graduating and moving on, we're going to be adding parking on the campus faster than it gets disrupted by construction. And that's a really big deal. Coming out of the recession, the university started growing really, really rapidly, and we were caught behind the 8 ball in terms of capital development. And so parking construction has lagged population on the campus, and frankly, when you build parking, guess what you build it on top of? Other parking, right? And so we've got the Osler Garage right now as a great example, built on top of a parking lot. And so we've had some short-term pain, but we've got a lot of long-term gain ahead of us, and we won't be experiencing that short-term pain going forward because we're making leading investments in our parking program. So the immediate challenge that we have in front of us is this summer we'll kick off the North Torrey Pines Living and Learning neighborhood. So in the construction of North Torrey Pines, we're going to lose in the short term 970 parking stalls. And the immediate relief for that comes online at the beginning of fall quarter in the Osler parking garage, where we add 1,350 stalls to the campus. This afternoon, we're having an open house on that project. You're all invited to participate in that. It'll be from 4 to 6 p.m. over at the faculty club, and it is just a fascinating project. Among other things, it will be the new home for Sixth College on the campus, which is something we can really be excited about. So by fall quarter, we'll have then between Osler and improvements that we're making at the glider port, 1,450 new stalls at minimum that we're launching. I mentioned the glider port, and associated with the North Torrey Pines Living and Learning Project, we'll be consolidating parking on the east end of the glider port, bringing it closer to Torrey Pines Road. That shortens the walk into campus. We'll have an improved grade there. It will still be a gravel lot, but it'll be better compacted and smoother than what we have today. We'll have a new entrance to avoid conflict with contractors who are going to be parking out in that area as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning, adding 100 stalls to that, so going from 250 stalls up to 350. So we've had a lot of practice over the last several years managing mobility during construction projects. And so this is not everything that we've done, but I've culled out some of the things that most significantly improve the situation for students, and that's the rebalancing of our parking allocations. So when we do development on the campus, it tends to impact one of our permit types, ABS or V, disproportionately from others. And so we rebalance to make sure that we maintain access for all on the campus. We've added temporary valet parking at 3 locations on the campus. And while that has been focused primarily on faculty, a little bit less so on staff, it is also open to the public, and so students have been welcome to use that service as well and have certainly availed themselves of it. We've restructured our shuttle routes in order to serve more customers with added frequency and reliability. We really have tried to make the migration from being a circulating shuttle system where you just try to maybe maintain some gap between the shuttles to being a real honest-to-God transit-like system where we're running on a timetable and there's a lot of predictability to it. Because quite frankly, that's what our riders, students in particular, are demanding. Your classes don't start when they get there. They start at a particular time, and you need to be able to rely on the shuttles to get you there on time. We launched our Lyft Flex Commute program. This was a pilot program that we started specifically for students, and it's even expanded now to faculty and staff, where you get a bonus when you buy your Lyft credit in advance, and you also receive free occasionally used parking permits to help incentivize that as a commuting solution for folks. We've launched the bike share program with Spin, hit 50,000 rides since that launch, so just over 3 months of activity, hit 50,000 rides just last week. And then we've launched new communication tools, including the virtual town hall and First to Know that we talked about earlier. We're going to significantly increase carpool parking, and this is something that we heard specifically from students, is that the carpool parking is one of the best avenues for students to be able to access that premium parking on the core of the campus in a cost-effective way. And so we're going to turn up the volume on that associated with this project. We're also planning to pilot premium parking for 2-person carpools. We've got almost 27% of the people that come to campus today are coming in carpools, but lots and lots of them are coming in just 2-person carpools. And today we don't have a parking product to help incentivize that. We think there's an opportunity to improve access for students and to also gain ridership at the margins if we offer a premium parking product for our 2-person carpools. So we're going to not only preserve but expand ADA parking. So within the construction site, there's a certain number of ADA spaces. Each one of those is going to be relocated just outside of the construction site. But because we now have a mobility barrier that's opening up and is going to be fenced off, we're actually going to increase the number of ADA spaces, some additional to the south, some additional to the north, so that construction site doesn't serve as an impediment to people moving back and forth on the campus. So I know students don't traditionally purchase reserved parking, But I have heard from students that the underutilization of some of our reserve space on campus is a real thorn in the side. When you come onto campus and you see open space that you can't use, it kind of sticks in the craw, and I get that. So we will be implementing reserve parking reforms for the fall quarter that are intended to increase the utilization of those spaces and draw down the amount of space that's dedicated to reserve parking. So in short, it's going to be a three-tiered system where those who want to keep their 24/7 reserved are going to pay a good bit more for that privilege. For most of the folks that want to keep a individual reserved spot where they're pulling into the same spot every day, that spot will become available to the general public in the evenings. So folks coming in for night classes don't have to walk as far. And then our most economical tier of reserve parking will be a shared reserved lot where we actively manage the permit ratio so that the lot is well utilized. You can always find a place to park if you're assigned to that area, but it's sold at more than one vehicle, one space. And that way we ensure that that university asset is well utilized and that we don't have empty stalls there, frankly, taunting the rest of the university community. So we'll also be introducing valet associated with this. That will be for the summer quarter only at this point, although if it's wildly successful, we'll look at continuing it into the fall quarter. Right now, it's really about bridging that gap between the beginning of construction for North Torrey Pines Living and Learning and the opening of the Osler Garage. We also have reconfigured, as I mentioned, the shuttle routes to improve frequency and reliability to anticipate the closure of the Campus Loop Road. We will also be adding a shuttle to the West Campus route, which will help us preserve the 15-minute schedule for those shuttles, even though we're going to need to detour onto North Torrey Pines for a brief several block distance. So we've developed a set of tenets to guide the parking reallocation and development of new transportation plans for North Torrey Pines Living and Learning. And that's because this is such a large and complex project. With that many moving parts, we want to make sure that we aren't simply responding to the most frequent or most recent voice or the loudest voice in the room, but that we're really considering the needs of all users in a balanced sort of way. Those tenets are available online now in the virtual town hall, and I encourage you all to take a peek and to please give us your feedback. They'll be up for another week for that particular town hall issue, and then after that we'll be posting the actual parking reallocation plan for public feedback. So it's our belief within Transportation Services that we have a parking system that is stretched far, and that it's going to be wins at the margins that really help us to change this in a timely fashion. And so we like to talk about the idea of 1,000 little things. We have adopted Shingo Lean as a management philosophy within Transportation Services. That's a particular version of Lean that focuses on employee engagement and employee empowerment and allows them to just go out and make things better for the customer. And so you can see on the screen some of the ways in which we've actually been doing this over the last month or so. And between now and the end of next fiscal year, so about 15 months, we're endeavoring to implement, not even originate, but implement more than 1,000 changes to the campus parking and transportation system to make life better for our customers. So, going forward, you can see some indications of it already. I come from a communications background. This has been a gap for our organization. We've heard it in the customer surveys, and we're looking to turn up the volume on communication. So we'll be streamlining our website this summer through First to Know and other communication tools. We're turning towards a proactive instead of reactive communication model. We'll be implementing one-stop shopping through a customer relationship management system, one email address, one telephone number as opposed to the 7 or 8 that we have today. But more importantly, because it goes into that CRM system, it's all logged in a database. Nothing more goes into somebody's private inbox and then they end up catching the flu and they're out for a week. You can't fall through the cracks. And we also then have the analytics to be able to recognize trends and implement solutions that are going to have the most impact for the campus community. We've also started making our parking occupancy data visible to the public today. That's gathered manually. In the future, it will be gathered in automated fashion, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So we know that we need to improve predictability. So that real-time occupancy data that we're looking toward with technology is fantastic, but it is a Band-Aid, quite frankly, on a system that has become unpredictable. You shouldn't have to check an app as you're driving to campus to figure out where to park. You should have reliability and simply know where you're going to go. So we'll be consolidating parking such that we have less permit types in any given lot. That reduces space search time, and so instead of having 5 types of parking in this lot and 5 types of parking right next door and 5 more in the next one down the road, we can put 1 or 2 here and 1 or 2 there, and maybe just 1 in that one. And all of a sudden you have to look less places, and we also gain efficiency in the system because we don't have that frictional loss with folks that are coming in and out in that one space that's just too hard to find. So we'll also be piloting the use of facility-specific parking permits. So you get permitted for a particular parking lot, that's where you go, and you know that that's where your parking space is going to be all day, every day. We can, through that system, manage the permit sales ratios better than we do today for a system where if you buy an S permit, your parking could be anywhere between the glider port and the Regents lots, and you don't know where that open space is going to be for you. So we're going to be enhancing the transportation demand management program today. There are barriers to entry for mass transit and ride sharing, car sharing, bicycling. Students have done a phenomenal job in the form of the UPass in removing one of those barriers to entry. We want to work to remove more, and while we don't have a delivery method in place for something like this, I can imagine a future where if you choose to live on campus and you choose to live without access to a private automobile, you have a car share membership baked into that. You have a bike share membership baked into that. It's all simply automatic and the barriers to entry are removed. That's my vision for what a successful campus transportation system could look like. We want to reduce drive-alone rates, which means we need to build less parking, which means we can reduce construction costs, which means we can hold rates lower than we would be able to otherwise. That's important to us. We want to make sure that we're providing great first and last mile connections to light rail or the trolley so that we can really leverage that coming to campus and make it feel like a complete and accessible solution for the campus community. So, and also, and this is something that I worked on in Seattle, all of MTS's service, some of NCTD's service is going to be reconfigured to take advantage of light rail coming to this area of San Diego. And when that service is reconfigured, because we host a couple of stops for the trolley on campus, we have an opportunity to draw additional bus service into the campus. And so for folks that can't necessarily ride the trolley, we can still leverage the trolley's arrival to create a better transit environment. And we'll be working to do that as well. We can also improve vehicular circulation both on and off campus. So curb lane management techniques that we'll bring in place to manage Uber and Lyft, make sure that those vehicles and our service vehicles don't disrupt traffic on the campus or degrade the pedestrian environment. So improving our traffic signal management so that we get better flow both on and off campus, and we're already having conversations with the city about synchronizing signals and making sure that they work as part of a single cohesive system. And then we've added a lot of on-street bicycle facilities. I look forward to adding more of those in the future and really creating a safe, low-stress environment for folks to choose that active transportation option on the campus. So finally, in terms of our priorities looking forward, we have a capital improvement program to complete. And so we'll be building out at Campus Point East, Voight, Triton Pavilion, Nuevo West, North Torrey Pines Living and Learning, Scripps, and also surface parking, one of the few places we're building surface parking under the guideway for the light rail transit as the contractor turns that space back to us. And all of that adds up to a much better parking environment on the campus going forward. While we're doing that, we'll be retrofitting all of our existing garages with parking guidance systems so that we can push data out in real time to apps, as well as have availability posted at the entrance to garages, so no more circling in the garage wondering if there's parking available for you. It'll be clear right there at the entrance and you know where in the garage it's going to be. and then also expanding our electric vehicle charging so that the campus community, folks who tend to be tenants and live in condos and apartments where there's not necessarily great EV infrastructure, have an opportunity to have some place where they can charge quickly and efficiently. We see that as a fundamental role for the university going forward. So with that, thank you for your patience as I provide an update on the campus transportation program. Now I'd like to do a little Q&A and just have a conversation. And as I said at the beginning, I hope this is the beginning of a conversation. For those of you who are playing along at home, please do send us your questions online at teltps@ucsd.edu, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. So, any questions in the room? Comments, suggestions? As we were chatting before the session started up, had a little bit of conversation around the Superloop and ways that we can make that perform more efficiently for our students. And so I wanted to share one update. The university is in an active dialogue now with MTS about the possibility of making additional investments in the Superloop in lieu of operating the Ariba shuttle, or what used to be called the city shuttle. Today, those two services run right on top of each other for a large portion of the route and really are at cross purposes. So because we're two different agencies, there's not schedule coordination between the two of them. And given the university's role as a small agency, we tend to run smaller equipment than the large articulated buses that MTS can run. So if we're able to successfully integrate these services, have MTS operate it, we're going to be able to increase total capacity, but we're also going to be able to increase the effective capacity of those routes because it's going to be one agency, one schedule, and that's going to allow us to deliver a lot more efficiency. So, are there other things that we should be talking about while we're together? Yes?
Do you happen to know what might be the concerns? What are like the main concerns with transportation using the MTS for students?
I've heard a range of things. Crowding is certainly one of them, and the interaction with the campus shuttle system is not the only reason for crowding on MTS, but it frankly is a key one. And we think once we've got everything running together as one system, it's going to alleviate a lot of that. Another that we've heard is off the Superloop on some of the less heavily trafficked stops, concerns about the at-stop facilities. Are we getting enough lighting? Is there bench, trash receptacles, things like that, and really making sure that those are comfortable, safe-feeling spaces, especially for our students that work extended hours. This is where STAC comes in as students' voice in working hand in hand with MTS. STAC will be playing a role not only in the negotiations of the final UPass contract, but also in providing feedback to MTS throughout the course of that contract about where enhancements need to be made. And that is everything from scheduling that would affect crowding on the buses to where we can make investments in those stop facilities that are going to help affect ridership positively. Right? So has anyone else heard other things in terms of concerns from students related to MTS?
I think the biggest concern used to be that before we had the referendum, we had to pay, so some people wanted to get on the UCSD one because they didn't have to pay. But now
Right.
that the sticker's there, you can get on either one.
Yeah.
It gets replaced, it's already covered.
Exactly. Yeah. Back before UPass in 2014, it was a very different environment, and so really, really grateful for students' leadership on that. And it was students' leadership. That was a student-initiated program, and it's a direct student relationship. University facilitated, certainly, but a direct student relationship between students and MTS to deliver the UPass. So, yes?
And when it comes to specific interior design questions or anything like that, especially with the MTS buses?
Sure, interior design of the MTS buses. So I would encourage you to route thoughts on that. You can do a couple of things, basically 3 primary channels. One would be directly to us at Transportation Services. And even if you go to MTS directly or work through STAC, please do keep us in the loop, because we're talking to MTS on a weekly basis and can certainly be an amplifier for the student voice in that regard. So STAC is students' official channel to work with MTS, and that would certainly be a great outlet. But then I will add, MTS is a public agency, and so they are used to hearing directly from members of the public, and the elected officials who oversee their operations, construe their board, are used to hearing from constituents, and your voice as an individual voter carries a lot of weight with them. So reaching out directly is a great thing as well. So, other questions, comments? Well, as I said a moment ago and at the beginning of the session, I hope this is the beginning of a conversation. I intend for this to be the beginning of a conversation, not just a flash in the pan. So we'll have 2 more sessions this week, and I've committed to annual town halls at minimum, and talk about even maybe just a quarterly roundtable, something a little bit less formal, so that we can keep the conversation going. Look forward to working with AS and GSA, STAC in particular, on putting that in motion. So with that, thank you for coming out, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you.